I'm a fourth generation fisherwoman. My family's been 100 years in one small little town, and I have been on a boat since I was 8 years old. By the time I was 24 years old, I was a sea captain, because it might help you to understand why I did the things that I did later on in life. And I'll explain them a little bit, but a lot of people, it may strike them as a little bit, I've been called crazy. And basically, the reason why they were coming to Texas is because they got kicked out of Taiwan. And matter of fact, I believe they were trying to do one of their big crackers down here. And I think at the time around 1989 is that y'all were pretty hacked off with their pollution. And so some of the farmers where Formosa wanted to put in their other cracker plant, they started throwing rocks at them and told them to go away. And so Y.C. Wong, Chairman Wong, he brought it straight to Texas. My home, we'd already had all of these algae blooms, all the dolphins were dying. We were the #1 county in the nation for toxic disposal, and now we were getting the biggest chemical expansion in Texas history. And, you know, and I had already found out about Formosa's environmental record and getting kicked out of Taiwan. And what I could see was the end, the death of my bay. And when I first started, I was pretty stupid. I didn't know a thing about the environment. I didn't know where the EPA was. I didn't know what a wastewater discharge was. I didn't know what a permit looked like. I didn't know the name of chemicals. I didn't know nothing. I dare say there is nobody out here that knew less than I knew. But I found out real quick, and I did all the standard stuff. You ask for a permit, you talk to the politicians, you write a letter, you try to get petitions out there, and nothing works because every politician in the state of Texas was backing them. Chamber of Commerce was backing them. The Department of Commerce was backing them. And pretty much they told me, it's a sweetheart deal, just give it up. And basically is, I wouldn't give up on the bay. It was my home, and I wasn't going to give up on the bay, and I would have these environmentalists and say, Diane, it's over with. I mean, you did everything you could do, you know, you did the typical stuff, and everybody knows it's a done deal. Everybody knows it. It's like pat yourself on the back, say you did okay, and just give it up. And I'm like, I am not going to give up that bay. And so pretty much I had an idea right off the top of my head. I mean, it just come right off the top of my head, and it was to do a hunger strike. And it's like, I never did a hunger strike. I didn't know how to do a hunger strike. All I know is a hunger strike, you don't eat nothing. And so I decided right then and there, I was going to do a hunger strike, and I had to do it then, because if I went home and thought about it, if I went home and talked to someone about it, they would say, Diane, that's the stupidest thing you could think of. It's like, don't do the hunger strike. So I knew I had to do the hunger strike then, so I called up a reporter and said, I'm doing a hunger strike. And she said, well, when? And I said, well, right now. I think most people think, you know, you have an issue that you care about. And I think most people in general, they think you can spend a week down maybe cleaning up the beach. You can send $5 to Wild at Heart. You can, you know, write a letter to your congressperson. You can, you know, go to a meeting. And if you don't get what you want, and in a summer or maybe in a couple of months, you're like, well, dang, I'm not going to do that any longer. It's like, you know, you can't win against that. You can't fight against that. And what you have to do is you have to put yourself on the edge. You have to put either your name or your reputation or your job or your life right on the edge. And I believe I believe it's It's a secret to the universe. I believe you can create action. It's an energy that is different from your head, and it just is a vortex of energy, and it creates action. So what I ended up doing is I towed the boat. I had the boat towed out in the middle of the Gulf, sinking on top of Formosa's discharge. And Formosa had hired one of the fishermen as a spy. And so the spy told Formosa, Formosa told the Coast Guard, and there were 3 boatloads of Coast Guard, federal Coast Guard out there in the middle of the bay. And they called me a terrorist on the high sea. They were going to give me 15 years in the federal penitentiary. But the end result was I had every shrimper in the bay that was watching it, and they all got in their boats, went out, and started demonstrating in front of Formosa Plastics. And that's when Formosa realized they had lost the fight. And that's when I got 0 discharge from Formosa Plastics. Thank you.
定律，世界的所有定律都是男人定的。所以当这个女人要跟着这个运转的时候，在温系列啊，所以呢，当今天呢，我今天站在这个台上呢，要跟各位来分享的部分是什么呢？我觉得我比较想要用一个站在一个女性的角度来分享，因为其实白安这一本书里面，它有相当多的从头至尾70从头至尾，你可以看得到。 它是一本绝对对的一个生态的女性的书籍，因为从头到尾，她一直在强调的一个女性，她在这一个不应该的这个环境里面，她所有的遭遇。那这里面呢，我非常深刻的去体验到这些问题。怎么样深刻的体验到呢？我先讲一件事情，就是说，其实我跟达安20几年就认识了。那时候是在干什么？那时候我正在做浊水溪。 我正在抗争台湾的事情海报，我正在做一个真正那个时候是我要进入一个真正的社会运动的时候。然后有一天我在电视上看到一个女人非常坚决的在一个船上面，然后拿着一个 logboard， 那个，然后我就说啊，对了，就是她。这本书呢，我在1987年我做台湾电调摄影展完，同时呢，我就开始做记者接触，然后跟关于河流的。后来，那在做有些拍摄的过程当中呢，我是从最高往低下。 然后我那个时候在拍，我想在很早以前做这个环境运动的时候，我一直希望台湾真的是一个Formosa美丽的岛屿。那我希望就是说，我们能够看到台湾的美，因为我们今天放眼看过去，台湾都不美。那么它真的曾经很美 ，OK？ 那么曾经很美的东西，为什么不把美的东西给大家看？说你看，没有失去这些多可惜呢？这是我的用心。我跟
答案对话土地伦理，你知道土地伦理是什么吗？是20世纪。 里奥波在西方，因为西方的这个价值观里面，自然没有价值观，自然没有道德观，有价值有道德只有人类，是人类本位。基督宗教他自认为人是从上帝而来，替上帝管理他所创造的万物，所以人是牧者，对不？所以呢，这是一种把这个万物奴役的这个现象。 人的君临天下，因是安尼来呀。然后呢，他们就衍生出来的，包括这些资本主义配合上帝国主义，然后配合这个民主制度，那就所谓的往这个东方入侵吗？蒋梦麟不是讲一句话吗？那个人家啊，佛陀啊，跟这个是乘着青牛来到中国，耶稣是搭着炮弹来到东方。 我看到戴安的情形是怎么样？他就是一个真实的人，幸亏他没有进入那一套抽象的游戏。他们在玩的就是一件并不存在的病态的治疗，而全世界在玩这一些病态的、并不存在的这样子的精致愚蠢的人太多了。